All right, everyone. Now you can add Slovenia to the list of countries that are starting to wake up to the globalist experiment actually being detrimental to them. You can add them to Italy, Poland, Hungary, and growing movements really all over Europe at this point. Europe is starting to realize that the people have a right to represent their own wishes and that they shouldn't be constantly stepped on by people that aren't even from their country. That's what's happening. Italy is now run by populists. George Soros comes out. This is funny. It's like, oh, Italy's having problems and they're doing the wrong thing, and the EU maybe they should punish Italy, but at the same time that might hasten the demise of their existence under the eurozone. Which, by the way, he's actually right about that. And they're like, oh, if George Soros is worried about us, we're moving in the right direction, and I heartily agree. Hungary has basically expelled him and every NGO he runs from the country, which, congrats to them. Poland is moving in that direction. Interesting, the Netherlands. Wilders actually made massive gains for his party, shoving the center-left out of the way so that the sort of centrist establishment had to, in order to form a government, they have to work with the Green Party now. They had to form a coalition with the far left because the center-left died off entirely. And everything's going to rot from the center. Movements that aren't part of the pure centrist establishment core, but aren't, particularly far to the right or left, are going to die off. And those voters are going to go elsewhere as those parties die. That's primarily going to favor populist and nativistic movements. And it might not favor outright ethno-nationalism. I think that that's a boogeyman in most cases, but populism definitely. People are tired of the migrant crisis. They look over and they see millions of people are in Europe who they don't even want to be there primarily. They want to be back in their home country, but then they're like, oh yeah, but these globalists bombed their country, preventing them from living there. It's almost like they created a war and then we had to suffer along with it too. Meanwhile, those people, they're not taking in refugees, and they never will. Slovenia has now elected a populist movement to the source of greatest power in their country. Now, they have to form a coalition, which means they're going to work with other parties. But that does mean as the largest party now, I believe they're going to get concessions. They're going to be able to govern once they form a coalition, or they'll have, basically a political breakdown of some sort or another. And this keeps happening because in some European countries, I think 5 or 6 parties, each pulling like 20%, and it becomes a little bit of a problem because they can't work together. And this is another Weimar symptom. The inability of the political parties, or I should say the inability of establishment parties to work together towards any common sense solution, their inability to govern ends up leading to their displacement. And I would tell you this, it works at the post-national level too. The European Union is incapable of making any decisions, especially related to fiscal things. It is incapable of governance because it is incapable of making sure that everyone is capable of working together and being happy. A decision that makes Germany happy is unlikely to make Spain happy. A decision that bodes well for Sweden may not work for Slovenia. That's just sort of the way it works because the economies are different, the languages are different, the nations, the cultures, everything about them is different. The fact that they're all part of Europe doesn't mean anything. That's like saying Venezuela and Chile could form a political union because they're on the same fucking continent. Yes, Japan and the Philippines should form a political union. This gives me United States of Asia. The Kenyans are going to join together with South Africa and form one nation on paper and join a currency bloc. That would be considered nuts. Nobody would possibly seriously recommend one of these scenarios. You want to be like the United States, but you're simply not. There's a total difference. Look, most of the U.S. was forged by a group of people that had already formed a union. Those new places, therefore, although they're divergent, each state has its own culture. They are their own states. There's a differential demographics and income and whether a place is more urban or rural. It's different across the United States, but it was always part of that same union anyway. You were never part of one. You're trying to learn how to be part of one. It's not going to work. It's too messy. People are already leaving the EU. The UK has already left, one of the main economies. One of the big three has already left the European Union. Bye-bye. Italy will probably be next. Yeah, at some point I expect other states to leave. It'll start in Southern and Eastern Europe probably. The UK was a little bit of a maverick there, and that was primarily the charismatic campaigning of UKIP above all things. But it's going to work elsewhere. And by the way, people are upset. They're worried. They're like, Russia wins. Putin wants to see the EU die. because it'll weaken Europe. No, it'll strengthen Europe. Your countries are better off without a post-national authority imposing rules and restrictions. You should compete with one another economically. You should have your own cultures. You can maintain peace. Now, trust me, having peace and serenity is a lot cheaper than having constant infighting and trouble within your nation. The decisions that have been made at the post-national level by the EU have contributed to the breakdown of order in many areas of Europe. It costs money to police things. When you deploy soldiers to your streets because of the problems spawned by the EU's shitty border policy, that costs money now, doesn't it? You have to pay those soldiers. You inconvenience things, you slow down traffic in the most literal sense. At every possible step, it weakens the efficiency of the economic machinery of your nation. And that's just the economic side. Don't even get started on the ethical side. Hey, random civilians of my nation who aren't responsible for any war, our nation not being part of one, we're going to take in people from another country who don't even want to be here after our post-nationalist authority started bombing them. So that people who are going to come here are going to blame us for their problems. And when they realize that Europe isn't the Middle East, where it's cold, and that they're probably not going to find a job, and that the quality of life isn't utopian like people think about Europe, there's Paris syndrome, I believe it's called. People go to Paris. There's Jerusalem syndrome too. They go to some of these, renowned cities around the world, and they end up in a weird, a fugue state or something. Because the expectation and reality are so far divergent from one another. I think there's a specific Japanese tourists, for some odd reason, are most likely to suffer this going to Paris. Because they expect, there's going to be art and wine and this dude with the mustache and the striped shirt smoking a cigarette and eating snails or something. They get there and they find that it's a normal urban city, that it's diverse in the most literal sense, and that's not what the Champs-Élysées actually looks like anymore, and they go psychotic. This happens in Jerusalem. Some American tourists will go there and start acting like Jesus and weird shit like that. It's a weird psychological state. Europe has problems right now. From the outside looking in, I don't even want to go to Europe because there are too many problems. Like some of these offshoot states, like maybe the UK, like if you go to some really rural area, it would be okay. But in a lot of the urban areas of Europe, there's a breakdown of order. Crime is rising and you've got all sorts of problems. And the only thing that's being suggested, like the UK, I know this isn't the EU, but the UK right now is suggesting banning pointy knives. Like, maybe knife manufacturers should have to blunt the tips of them. Now, I don't know how you're going to keep people from resharpening them. I guess you throw them in jail and rape them repeatedly with a tire iron if they dare to sharpen their steak knife. That's what you think is a common sense solution to your stabbing spree problem. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. No, Slovenia is doing the right thing. Hopefully populism and nativism grow even more in Europe, and the EU hopefully dissolves. Europe will be stronger. You're not going to suddenly fall back into brothers' war bickering just because you're not part of a political union, which is basically what the European Union represents at this point. It was like, it's just gonna be like a currency union and a sort of a confederated system so we can work together and organize better. It's not a political union, but you can't determine what you're going to do with your borders. You can't determine your foreign policy. You can't determine your trade policy. You can't determine the price of goods. You can't determine much of anything. So that seems like a political union, run unfortunately by the most inept and corrupt European leader, which is Angela Merkel. That's about all. Peace out.